See, there are people inside India who will oppose the government for the sake of opposing the government, because anything that is seen as being a plus for the government, even if the intent is not political, is something that, perhaps the opposition may not be in a position to tolerate. Now, having said that, I would like to take it, with your permission, to a more military domain than political, because politics is not something that I understand. But I can tell you, I'm so happy that the Indian Army has officially made such a statement. It's never been made in the past. General KJS Dhillon sir is senior, and he'll bear with me when I say this, that, the Indian Army taking the name of a nation, saying that China is responsible, Turkey is responsible, and saying that openly is something that gives me so much of joy, because then in front of the Indians, a 3-star general of the Indian Army, a serving 3-star general, has put out saying that these are your enemies. I've often spoken about Shatru Bodh, understanding who our enemy is, and it gives me a great deal of satisfaction. Now, we must know how to deal with China, and we must know how to deal with Turkey. We were the first nation that sent relief material to Turkey when Turkey was absolutely smashed by that massive earthquake. We were the first ones, and we said this is our duty. Now we realize that we were feeding a snake, and we should not do it in future. And we must understand, China will keep on supporting Pakistan because it suits China. Turkey, this man, Erdogan, has mad dreams of the Ottoman Empire. He will keep on supporting Pakistan. They will keep on doing it, and it is now incumbent upon us to decide our strategy, that when you face off with Pakistan the next time, it is not Pakistan alone, it is an entire spectrum of people, of enemies who are against us.
Sushant Sareen, we've had discussions on this before, but here you have a top general saying it in as many words, that China was helping Pakistan.
Okay, let me just start with something Gaurav said. He talks about Shatru Bodh. Look, I think the problem is ours. And as far as Shatru Bodh is concerned, forget China and Turkey. We haven't even got Shatru Bodh of the Pakistanis. So forget about China and Turkey. But I think what our policymakers have never understood, and I have actually, I don't consider that, we send a rescue mission to Turkey. Why did we send it? We should understand that in international relations, no good turn that you do to another country goes unpunished, right? It's not as though that they'll appreciate what you're doing. They will always punish you for it. So please don't do this in future. This is this virtue signaling that we keep doing, that we send vaccines to so many places, etc., etc. Send it to somebody who appreciates it. Just don't send unsolicited aid to anybody. But on the more substantive issue, look, Pranesh, here is the thing. Every war in every theater is a testing ground for weapons of the weapon suppliers. Okay, that is when you get to know how the weapons are actually performing. Now, whether it was in Syria, whether it is between Azerbaijan and Armenia, India and Pakistan, you name the war theater, Israel and Iran, you test weapon systems, you see the efficacy of not just your own weapon systems, but you also test the doctrines, new doctrines come into play. You see new tactics being deployed, and armies, and I'm sure people like General Dhillon and others, during various courses that they've done, they would be studying various war theaters around the world to see what are the lessons they can draw from other wars. So nothing extraordinary as far as that is concerned. The second part is, again, I think the Indian Armed Forces know better than anybody else that there is a China-Pak collusivity, right? It's not something which has come as a revelation to us. I think what is different this time is that while we knew that these guys were very, very close to each other, it is the kind of real-time assistance that was being given by the Chinese to the Pakistanis, in terms of the satellite links that were being given, in terms of the communication links that were being given. I think that takes the China-Pakistan collusivity to the next level. The only thing which we did not see the Chinese do is make very threatening moves along the borders, which would have then forced us to focus some of our forces onto the eastern and the northern front with the Chinese. That they haven't done this time, they might do the next time. The third thing which we have to realize, and I think it's good that the general has mentioned it, traditionally, neither India nor Pakistan have targeted each other's population centers. And I keep Kashmir and the LOC away from this. That's a different battlefield in a manner of speaking. But as far as the rest of it is concerned, we don't attack their civilian infrastructure or population centers, neither do they. But I think it is good that the Indian armed forces are waking up to the possibility that maybe in the next round or the round after that, because I think there will be multiple rounds between India and Pakistan, because it's the dog's tail which never will straighten Pakistan. So we can expect them to do something like this. I will not put it past them to try and target population centers, economic centers, something what Iran did vis-a-vis Israel, and the Pakistanis are very chuffed up about it, that look, the Iranians targeted buildings, they targeted homes of the Israelis. The Israelis have finally got to know what the war is. There isn't any sense of horror in the Pakistanis. There's a sense of jubilation that Israeli homes and businesses and buildings were destroyed. I would not be surprised if the Pakistanis were to internalize those lessons. So if the Indian armed forces are now talking about a much more robust air defense system for the next round and the subsequent rounds, I think we'll be so much the safer and better for it.
Now, Abhijit, before I bring you in, Suhel said, the kind of commentary that we've been talking about, that we've heard from the ecosystem, and I'm not taking names. You know those people, our viewers who are watching, they understand what we are talking about. We've heard Chutput war, etc., ceasefire, Narendra surrender. Now that the army is saying this in as many words, that look, this was a three-front war. This was not some Chutput war. But the narrative persists. What does one do?
See, when you fight with a pig, the pig enjoys it, but you land up getting dirty. These jokers don't have anything against you or the general or anyone. They are virulently anti-progress of India. They hate any progress that we as a country make, because in our regression lies their progress. They are perverse human beings. Many of them are your colleagues in the media, and you know who they are. I can initialize them if you want, but that will take 1 hour of programming. The second point is that in our country, we have enough scoundrels who are always looking at the half glass empty, not the half glass full. These jokers get space. These jokers get mind space from you. They get media attention. That's their oxygen. I mean, in any other country, they would have either been arrested or shot. But here, they're given a Padma Bhushan, someone's wife is made a member of parliament, someone goes on a junket. So all this happens. So the rewards in this country are also pretty unique. My suggestion is that today what the Indian army has done, to echo what Gaurav said, is remarkable. We are a country which is a functioning democracy. We're not an anarchy like Pakistan. Chinese people, not Chinese people, but the government of China and Xi Jinping and all his little cronies are scoundrels of the highest order. They have indulged in doublespeak way ahead. They will continue to do that. Unless we, and there I totally agree with Lieutenant General Dhillon, the tragedy in our country is we are great at self-promotion. We हम लोग ये भी कर सकते हो, बाबा जी का ठुल्लू नहीं कर सकते हम. That bloody HAL should have been wound up 20 years ago. But we still tolerate those jokers. We tolerate bad quality, bad production. We say, हाँ भाई हमारा ये plane बनाएगा. There are children who could make planes that can fly better because they'll be made of paper. You won't even be spending that kind of money that this HAL jokers spend. I mean, with due respect, HAL Johnnies. Jokers, any case, the disclaimer goes to Times Now, not to me. The Air Force chief was right. He's saying, why should we rely on HAL? These people have been utterly incompetent, totally incompetent. Who's encouraged incompetence in India? The person who uses surrender after a word which he can't pronounce. His family. His family allowed arms dealers and arms machines to come into this country. We had no indigenous production. Why? Because otherwise, how do you transfer lira in the good old days and euro today to families which are residing in those kind of countries? So the bottom line is, and as General Dhillon said, this is a wake-up call for India. Imagine when you go to war, you have only one issue. And please read Sun Tzu if you want to read it again. When you go to war, you have to recognize everyone is your enemy. Don't rely on any ally because wo badal sakte hain as they have today. You think America is anyone's friend? Trump is not even Melania's friend. Whose friend is he going to be? So don't expect any of your people to be friends. They are all rascals, self-serving scoundrels. So go into war imagining aapke saath koi nahi khada. Then see what happens. For that, you have to have three things. One is great ammunition, arms, all of that which are your own and which work, not which fire back at you. Number two, you've got to have one person driving the narrative. And that person has to be relentless, he or she, in controlling the narrative. Number three, you've got to come down hard on people who are spreading rumors, misinformation, and creating a narrative that actually is self-destructive. Identify those people. Identify. You made all these changes. You made an Indian penal code from English into Hindi, long, long words. Uska aap kya kar rahe ho? Wo aap employ karo. The problem is we are basically mentally impotent. We talk a lot. Oh, ye kar denge, wo kar denge, ye kar denge. When it comes to actually doing things, we tie our hands behind our back and say, nahi ji, we are to very liberal, hum to secular hai. Mahatma Gandhi. The biggest mistake Mahatma Gandhi ever made, in addition to advancing the cause of prohibition, was, oh, I will offer the other cheek. Why, bhai? Why will you offer the other cheek? Kisi ke baap ki cheek hai? Kyun aap doge, bhai? Aap dono cheeks lo. This thing of, oh, we will surrender, we'll give one cheek. And one Gandhi, who is in no way related to Mahatma Gandhi, is also offering the other cheek. Why? Are we so deprived, depraved, denigrative, self-destructive that we can't fight? So the time has come for you guys in the media. Y'all also, bhai humko godi media bolte, hum kya bole? Thappad maro. This is not, see, non-violence is very good in the United Nations. It is not now required in India. Someone attacks you, you attack them with full vigor. That's what has to happen, Pranesh. Enough. We have been very nice, soft people and all. Soft people should be selling ice cream, not running a country.
Well, you know, talking of disclaimers, here's one in the middle of the show. This is Suhel Seth, Unfiltered on Friday evening. Viewers, this is only the first response. But Abhijit...
I don't even drink nowadays. So you can't even blame it on alcohol. Otherwise,
I am not. I am not. This is righteous indignation. You know, you're entitled to those thoughts, you know, and, you know, I endorse most of it. Abhijit, will it be business as usual? What will change after this announcement by the general?
Nothing, Pranish. Because, you know, this is not the first time a general has come out and talked about, you know, China, Turkey, all of that. This happens every 2 years. We keep hearing the alarm bells about Chinese supplies to Pakistan, Turkey for a very, very long time. I don't think people realize this, Pranish, but Turkey has been a thorn in our side right since the 1950s. You know, since the independence of Pakistan, since this bizarre paper in 1952 came out by a book, came out in 1952 by Sir Olaf Karo called The Wells of Power. You know, he was a big NATO bureaucrat and he decided that Pakistan, Iran and Turkey were the bulwarks against Russia, the USSR in those days. And since then, they've decided that they're a major bulwark and whatnot. That is their delusion. China has joined in this at least since the 60s. Who made China join them? It was entirely the god of foreign policy. You know, the Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva foreign policy, a gentleman called Jawaharlal Nehru, whose incredible foreign policy went from, you know, China being Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai to the Chinese then invading us. Right. I can show you the Philippines defense minister at that time saying that he had never met anyone more security clueless and woolly-headed than Nehru. Literally used that word woolly-headed. Now, for them to be saying all of this today is also a fact because we have now internalized a culture of strategic ignorance. We are wonderful with headlines, but do we ever follow up on the headlines? How long, Pranesh, have we known that the Chinese are planning on selling stealth fighters to Pakistan? What have we done? You can't even forget fifth generation. You still can't get your 4th generation fighter up in the air. And you have HAL basically putting out false information that GE has fallen back on the schedule of supplying engines. We had known this for 8 years. You look at the news items 8 years back, it said it would never not meet the deadline. 8 साल से पता था, कुछ नहीं किया. So, forgetting Pahalgam is not new. Have we forgotten Pahalgam? Of course. We want to play cricket with them. We are inviting them over for hockey. If you ask them, they'll say, oh, well, if we don't play, we will lose points. Sure, it's perfectly fine for, our soldiers to lose their lives. But God forbid we lose points in cricket or points in hockey. Is this what we're down to today? And the sheer shamelessness of it all. There will actually be Indian advertisers who line up for the Asian Cup and put up, so-and-so coaching company. Come learn IAS from us so you can allow more Pakistanis in to play more Asian Cups and skim off the profits from it. We are dysfunctional at every level, Pranish. Let us be clear about that. This threat is not new. We have done nothing about it. Pahalgam is not the first terror attack to happen in India, and we are pretending today that it has all gone. And you have the leader of the opposition essentially behaving like the chief intelligence officer of the Chinese, trying to extract whatever information he can on battle damage. Why should you provide battle damage assessment? Mind you, he's not asking for it in private. He wants it done publicly. Why? He has the status of a cabinet minister. He can go ask for a private briefing. No.
Major Arya, is there a mindset problem? You've heard both Suhel and Abhijit.
Yes. Of course, there is a mindset problem. Of course. I often say this, and many people say that, no, this is warmongering and we shouldn't think like that. But, had there been Operation Sindoor before, there would have been no Pahalgam. What I'm saying is that we are always reactive. We are saying, okay, if Pakistan does this, then we'll do that. That is nonsense. Today, nothing is happening. Pakistan today, as of right now today, Pakistan is not launching terror attacks on India today. I'm talking about only today. Now, what stops you from hammering Pakistan right now? Because if you hammer Pakistan right now, there will be no terror attack tomorrow. The idea is not to respond. ये जो respond करने वाली हम लोगों की एक आदत है कि if Pakistan does Uri, then we will have surgical strikes. Pakistan will do Pulwama, then there will be a Balakot, and then they will do Pahalgam, and then there will be Operation Sindoor. If you do surgical strikes pehle, there will be no Uri. If you do Balakot pehle, there will be no Pulwama. If you do Operation Sindoor pehle, there will be absolutely no Pahalgam. That is what I've been trying to say for so many years. Just keep on hammering the living hell out of the Pakistanis. Whether they commit a mistake or not, whether they do a terror attack or not, just keep on hammering them every single day. I mean, General KJS Dhillon is here, and Sir mentioned in one of the interviews. I mean, I spoke to him and he told me, and he said this publicly so many times, that when he was the GOC, they said कि नहीं field firing नहीं होगी. जो field firing के लिए महाजन जाते हैं, field firing के लिए पोखरन जाते हैं, fire on the Pakistanis. Fire on the Pakistanis. मार के इनका दुम्बा बनाओ दिन रात. They are the finest people in the world. Let me tell you, when a Pakistani has been hammered into the ground, when he's begging for mercy and you don't give him mercy and you hammer him much more, they're the finest and the most polite people. It is just when you take the foot off their necks, then they start biting you. Hammer them.
General Dhillon, is that the approach that, one needs to adopt? Belt treatment, like they say, for Pakistan?
See, I'll keep it purely military. Over the last so many years, more than 75 years, every war we have seen, when Pakistan is at the absolutely disintegration stage or has actually disintegrated in 1971, we take the foot off the pedal, as Major Gaurav Arya is saying. And exactly same thing happened in Op Sindoor. Of course, in Op Sindoor, we had our declared aims and end state. And once we achieved it, we said, okay, no more. But my way of thinking is, when the patient is improving, you increase the dose. You don't stop the dose. And now talking about what Major General Rahul said today, see, imagine, there was a talk of hitting the population centers. All our functions of everyday life, may it be banking, may it be railways, may it be aircrafts, may it be economic things, may it be power grids, they all work on hardware and software. Suppose those softwares and hardware are so compromised that at the time of choosing of the enemy, they shut off our banking, they shut off our air operations and all, or shut off our railways, when we are at a very crucial phase of battle. The only answer is, which every panelist has said it in their own style, we need to go Indian in all these things. We need to put our money where it deserves to be. And this short war of 4 days has shown to us intentions change overnight. Capabilities take decades to build. So please build the capabilities. You never know tomorrow what friend will turn a foe. Because the intentions is a mental state, capability is a physical state. It takes time. And military capabilities take one hell of a lot of time. Please, we should have got it by yesterday. I think it would be good if we get it by tomorrow.
You're right, General Saab. Foot of the pedal. Sushant Sareen, mindset problem, this foot of the pedal attitude. What do we do?
I don't know what we are going to do about it, because this is not a new issue. This is a 1,000-year-old problem. This is what I call the PRC syndrome, the Prithviraj Chauhan syndrome. This is what you see in Hindi Bollywood movies. If you see Hollywood films, when there is a clash between the hero and the villain, the hero takes out his gun and he shoots the guy. In the Bollywood, you will first box him, knock him to the ground, then pick him up again. Then box him again, then pick him up again. Now, this is part of our psyche. This is part of our culture. We don't understand that when the enemy is down and out, that is the time to slay him. We should have done it in 71. We did not do it. Again, there were many compulsions on the Indian state at that point of time. The Indian state back then was not what the Indian state is today. There were all these issues back then. But the point is that it should not distract us from the fact that this has been part of our strategic myopia, if you will. The second thing, Pranesh, which I find very, very interesting is that despite all these linkages between the Chinese and the Pakistanis, I am quite befuddled why the Chinese have not shared their battlefield damage assessment with the Pakistanis. The Pakistanis keep crowing about how much damage they've caused in India, but they can't produce any evidence. Then they say disingenuously that we caused that idiotic Air Chief Marshal of theirs, that idiot, whatever that guy's name is, Suhel Mansoor or whatever that lowlife's name is, he said we hit 34 air bases in India. Yeah, give us evidence of one. Why don't you show us some photographic evidence of one? They can't. Then they say that, well, the commercial satellite technology, because of India's financial and commercial power, those satellites don't cover India. But the Indians are showing their own places. So how come they can't buy that same footage? Okay, the Western satellites don't show it. Why don't you get the Chinese satellites to give you the images to show how much damage you've caused? Right. Then they're feeding this cock and bull story to their own people. There were drones over in Delhi. The missiles were targeting Delhi. We had cut off their power grid. These idiots, donkeys like Hamid Mir and others, who don't know anything about mathematics or about science or physics or chemistry of anything, right? And who vomit out whatever is given to them by their ISI handlers. These idiots cannot ask where those drones were outside Delhi, above Delhi, where those missiles were above Delhi. So, you are dealing with a country which is in a completely different alternate reality they are living. And they've conjured up this reality and nobody is ready to question it, because that is the kind of people those guys are.
Okay, so Major Arya, I'm giving you the last word on this show before we move on. What stops us from adopting the approach Suhel Seth was talking about, General Dhillon was talking about, Abhijit was talking about? How do we change our mindset?
I think it's cultural. I think we're basically people who are defensive. You see, in war, there is no... sense of honor when we talk about. It is a soldier who has a sense of honor. War in itself, minus the soldier, is not a honorable enterprise. So when you go for war, please remember you're going to win. and also this reactive posture that we have always had. Like Sushant very rightly said, ये तो 1000 साल पुराना इशू है, ये आज का इशू थोड़ा ना है. 1000 साल से हम लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि जब कोई आएगा तब हम रिएक्ट करेंगे, जब कोई आएगा रिएक्ट करेंगे. If you want to win, you have to change your mindset. The issue is mindset. This chalta hai attitude. Koi baat nahi. Why do you think the Pakistanis name all their missiles, Gauri and Ghaznavi? Think about the mindset that you're faced with. If you want to actually crush them forever, face down the Chinese and the Turks, the first thing you need, even before you need your planes and your surface-to-air missiles or whatever you want, the first thing is change your attitude. This is not a warlike attitude. This is a very pacifist.
No, you're right, but you see, here we are ashamed about our culture. Nimbu mirchi Rafale mein uska mazak uda rahe the, uska meme bana diya. Suhel was right. There are problems at multiple levels. Or the sooner we address it, the better for us. Because, this lament on TV is fine, but nothing changes. Hum fir 8 mahine baad, we'll have the same panel and we'll be discussing the same things more or less. We'll have to move on. Yes, Mr. Sareen, yes.
Manish, allow me a sentence. Yaar, chalo, we will do Nimbu and Mirchi. There are others who put Quranic ayats and who will read that out, who will whisper a prayer. The Westerners also do the same thing. When you launch a ship, you do certain things. You think when you break a bottle to launch a ship, that saves the ship. These are things people do to make fun and to lampoon a culture or a society because of this. Shows the kind of pettiness and the kind of, stupidity of people who say that, where has Nimbu and Mirchi gone? I can tell you where it went, but I don't think...
we'll keep that for some other... Yeah. I thank some of you for joining us. General Dillon, thank you for taking out the time. Major Arya, thank you. Abhijit, Sushant Sareen, Suhel stays on. Viewers, let's quickly shift our attention